Yeah, I'm
Getting,
only going to be on for a couple minutes.
yeah, I know. So don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rain, we were just talking. Bruce is doing interesting AI stuff, and I'm wondering if he could dumb it down to the level of Visual Meta. And he said yes, but he thinks a bit too far ahead, so it's a bit odd. But
Yeah,
how are you?
don't put this on YouTube. I mean,
No, no,
I'm
no,
not
no,
I'm
not,
not.
not that's all not recorded anyway. Yeah,
Um,
but Bruce, write something.
yeah. So anyway, no, it's really good. I don't know. Have you seen Gary Marcus's book? Uh,
What's this one?
well, let me just bring up my talk here that mentions it. I gotta find it now. I gotta find the latest greatest talk. Trying to remember which one I gave. World Usability Congress in 17. That was the one. I unfortunately have it in PowerPoint, and I hate PowerPoint. But here, I'll share this. This is no, this is the wrong one. Anyway, no, Gary has this book. Maybe I have it here. See, this is the problem. You know, why don't we have a better Finder by now? You know, it drives me crazy. Drives me totally. Okay, here we go. This is it. I'll share this. This is my talk that I often give. Oh, you have to give me screen sharing permission.
Oh, you want to share it like this? Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah.
put up. Remove, report, rename, allow to record, make host. Yeah, I'm making you host.
Okay.
You will have to give me a host back afterwards. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah. Here, let me just. I'll just share this. Do you see the full page?
Total Recall, Graz, Austria.
Okay. Have you seen this talk before?
Nope.
Well, let me just. This
Right,
is this.
I first met somewhere random in Germany. So not
Huh?
so far away.
Have you seen this one?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, let me go to the last page, which basically Gary's book is called Rebooting AI.
That's not PowerPoint, that's Keynote.
I know it's Keynote. Thank God I moved it into Keynote. But anyway, his book Rebooting AI is really good, and I work for Gary actually.
All right.
So
Okay.
yeah, so I think you should get this book. It's really fun. So basically, that's what the company is about. It's about rebooting AI and building AI we can trust. So that's why I joined. I want to do that.
What
And
is
then,
what does rebooting AI mean, and what is AI we can trust?
so AI we can trust is AI that doesn't have fatal mistakes that could, be a real issue. For example, if you're doing autonomous driving, if you think about what they do now, they follow lanes and they know whether somebody's ahead of you and behind you, but they don't. These systems don't reason. They don't think about, you know, things ahead. Like for example, when you and I are driving, we might see that somebody's going to be merging from the right because we look over there and we see if they're speeding up or slowing down and we decide what to do about that, right? Or we might see up ahead there's some issues going on and we see things are slowing down, we see a bunch of things happening and we realize that there's an accident in the right and that we should slow down or move over or something. And all sorts of reasoning needs to happen so that it's understandable and that humans can predict what this thing will do, right? If you were this thing, if you were the robot, what would you do? And if the robot does what you would do, then you can trust it, right? Right now, you know, if you have a sign that says caution wet floor, the robot doesn't know anything about that. It doesn't have any human experience. And so we need to have models of the world that are compatible with human models of the world inside the robot so that we can communicate with them and that they can understand kind of the real world in a better way. So, I mean, that's a whole talk about all of this stuff.
So I have to ask
And a
you a
book.
very deep question then, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for interrupting you, but I know you have little time. Where
Yeah.
is the bridge between ML and reason?
Okay. Well,
Because ML is by definition unreasoned, right?
let me find that slide for you. Okay. So basically, this is machine learning, right? So you basically, do big, huge chunks of data. You run gigantic algorithms over them. You make models, and then you hope that they're right, and you try to improve them over time, right? So the deep learning is not good for a lot of reasons. Not good for abstracting and reasoning or planning or any of these things, and they're big problems. And then, so let me just go on.
But you do need both. You need them to work together, right?
Correct. So actually, where's my working together slide? This is the working together slide. This is basically machine learning on the left is basically anything that you can make a model of that's going to stay stable and be global, useful for a long time, right? So faces are faces are faces. So you can make a face detection machine learning system, deep learning system, and it'll do well. You can do things that that understand language pretty well, right? Because language doesn't change very fast. You can do speech recognition pretty well because the way people talk doesn't change very fast in the scheme of things. But stuff that changes fast, like your situational awareness, where you are, what just happened, did I just meet somebody? I just met Rain. Guess what? My deep learning system doesn't know anything about that. It can't possibly know that. But I can remember that with memory-based learning, right?
So, I've read a book by, I forget his name, it's called The New Executive Brain. Are you familiar with it, either one of you?
No, but I should read that.
I think you would absolutely gobble it up like sugar candy sweets because it's about the prefrontal cortex, which I'm trying to teach Edgar stuff about.
And write this down.
It does go into the difference between the right and the left hand, which has obviously been completely misinterpreted in popular culture for decades. Right. But the point he makes is that our left brain is the one that learns something. The right brain is the one that handles new stuff. So for example, you're learning to ride a bike. Mm-hmm. Both hemispheres are engaged. The one on the right is more looser, heuristic based, and just trying to figure stuff out. The one on the left is slowly getting it. And once you know how to ride a bike, left takes over.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So that's why the whole nonsense with creativity and stuff has been lashed onto it. But this seems to be analogous to the different connections here.
Yeah. So I had another slide that talked about some of that stuff, but yeah, no, that makes total sense. I have to get this book. It sounds like a good book.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we have to have both. We have to have both, and I talk about the different types of memory, and maybe that's kind of the different sides of the memory specialization. Here, I'll share this again. Why not?
And I'm curious about foregrounding memory. It seems like just having memory doesn't solve the question of which memories to select and how to apply them to the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So context is everything. And so if you have a bunch of kind of contextual cues or semantic cues that happen at a particular point in time, right, at an event, you can select, you can say, and you use what are called the 5-minute program sorts. So you basically say, I think about Frodo, right? And then everything about Frodo kind of comes to the fore and is available for selection, right? If I say, and I can further, kind of do federated search, right? You can say Frodo in, London, and then everything is kind of narrowed down to that, right? And now you are related to Frodo in my mind, right? So, for example, all these things. So this is all about memory.
The last thing you said there, Bruce, I think is key. I think thinking about memory to an extent, and I'm coming from a very naive perspective, but you're both close friends, so I dare speak. I think thinking about memory is kind of useless. I think it's what we're looking at is connections and patterns. I had a better thought before I gave that preamble of affordances. That's the word. Of course, we have affordances with a computer, but apparently our raw senses, they don't look at that over there as a chair made out of wood with spikes on the side or whatever. What we get higher up is that's a thing for sitting, that's a wall, that's not for walking through.
Right.
So it's all about what it is for us rather than a memory of a thing.
Right. So those are the kinds of things that robots need to be able to do, right? Robots need to know that you can't walk through a wall, right? This is common sense knowledge. And there's been a ton of work on this Doug Lanatt did his life work was psych, and it has all of this common sense knowledge, and to understand a single sentence that could be really quite deep and require a lot of reasoning. That's where we're headed. We have to be able to do that. But here's the memory thing. Maybe the implicit memory is your right side of the brain, the things that are unconscious, and then the left side of the brain is this declarative side, where you have factual knowledge. What's the population of Norway, and then episodic knowledge is like, what did I do yesterday? Who was there? What time did that happen, and how did I feel about it, for example. So maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll have to get this book and see if the new executive brain says anything about these types of memory. I'll have to check that out.
Right. I'm guessing this is very close to what you're dealing with, because you're dealing with putting stuff in and getting it out. So it has to relate to your brain for that to happen, right?
Right. And that's why it has to be something that's meaningful to a human, right? So, computers can have indexes that are completely unuseful for humans, but you have to map them to human, affordances, as you said. So anyway. Well, you know what? I got to get ready for today. Friday is basically the day of many meetings. And so I better get ready for these many meetings.
And today is Edgar's last day of current nursery, and I'm stuck in Norway.
Oh,
so weird. So next week he will start this. It's still a nursery for one more year, but it's connected to the school that he's applied for.
Mm-hmm.
He has to follow kind of the English thing. So,
well,
Friday.
Good luck with that. Well, nice meeting you, Rain. I'll talk to you later, Proda. We'll stay in touch. All right. Take care. Oh, I can't be the host. Actually, you have to be the host.
Yeah, you have to unhost yourself.
I have to make you the host again. Assign and leave.
I'm a host. Oh, good. Yeah, worked. Hey. Office hours are so cool. There's usually like 1 or 2 people, but it's a thing. How are you?
Oh, not bad. How are you?
You look kind of radiant. What's going on? Have you been making new stuff or what?
just standard everyday radiance.
2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I've been I'm in a good flow with working on my paper for human factors, so that's been really good. And kind of like I set aside a couple hours every morning to do research and write, and getting into that habit has been really nice. It's like a cool, opening up that door again to real scholarly work is satisfying.
I would imagine it is for you. Frustrating is what it is for me, but.
Oh, gosh, I love it so much.
Yeah. I like the idea of it, but there's so much weirdness around citations, and then the formatting of documents is crying out loud.
Yeah.
But Visual Meta is moving forward apace. It's getting really good reception, and it's the one thing I think I've made that's really useful. So that's making me quite happy.
Glad to hear that. What are you working on, like, actively?
Well, I'm trying to promote it. I have a fantastic advisory board, very active, with Vint, Ismail, Sarah Gelden, Pip Wilcox who's in charge of research at the National Archives.
Oh, yeah.
David Barroor from Oxford. Yeah, you met them all in Southampton. So that's very, very good. And introducing to interesting organizations who are interested in doing it. And finally, Jacob, who has been working on something else, is back on this now, and he's working on glossaries. So I'm doing the simplest glossary implementation I could imagine, and I'm so happy because glossaries.
Been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, because glossaries can blossom into so many crazy things. So all we've done is a glossary is a section at the back of the document called glossaries. That's the heading. Each term is bold, followed by a definition that is not bold. New paragraph, new thing. You can write it manually, you can write it by doing keyboard shortcuts, doesn't matter. When you then export into a PDF, and you then happen to search for a word which has a glossary entry, you get all the search entries, but the glossary on top. And that's it. No
yeah, you shared that initial design.
Sorry?
it sounds like what you shared with me a few weeks ago with about the initial design.
It's exactly that, just a little bit polished. And the fact that he may actually make it work by next week is really exciting.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so, you know, as I get older, I try to simplify and not make it like, you know, this goes to there. And anyway, so it's good. How was M doing?
It's slow. I haven't been doing as much direct development on it, just for my own sanity and fulfillment. I prefer not to be coding all the time. So I've been doing a lot of other things, but that's one benefit of having a team is even when I'm not working on M, they are. So there is progress. It's just slow.
Yeah, no, that's good. You know, that Bill Gates quote, people tend to underestimate what they can do in the long term and overestimate what they can do in the short term. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm partly like excited, more excited than ever, but also challenged / discouraged in some ways by just opening my eyes more to the ecosystem of these kinds of apps and seeing a lot of things developing and having some envy for the folks that have already gone public and are iterating and have users. And I just like,
you mean like Rome and Notion and that kind of stuff?
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah.
I can see how that could be seriously annoying. I've had things like that in the past, but I think you have a very different approach. One thing you lack that they have is arrogance. And I think that will help you in the long run. You do more research, you think about it cleaner. I mean, it's called Rome cult, for crying out loud, right? It's not cool. And also, as far as I can see, and I've been dipping in and out, but my world is documents, and I have to make sure I don't thin myself out. Mm-hmm. The connection with the rest of the world doesn't seem very tight. You know, it's all very good working in your own thinking space. I think you're doing that in a different way. I think you have more, you're both more isolated in an intimate way. You know, you're on your phone, you can do these things and it's wonderful, but also have a feeling better connected rather than building a global thing that no one else can access, you know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I think that's fair. In the way that yeah, it's like the upside is that I'm pretty thorough. I've also more and more, I have a philosophical and kind of techno-social grounding in like what I'm doing and why, which is a lot deeper than most tech people go. I guess the downside is that I'm, by comparison to like Silicon Valley work, I'm very slow.
Yeah, maybe, but that's not what it's all about.
It's like, you know, those are just things to work with as they come through. It doesn't change the plan, as you know. Once you commit, that's really the best word for it. It's like, I'm going to build this thing. I'm going to bring this into the world. Do whatever it takes.
Yeah, that's good. Well, you are a very serious person.
Yeah.
I've noticed. I'm going to stop recording for a bit. Sorry, just talking about, for God's sake, what do you mean password? This shouldn't need a password. Okay. I couldn't find anything by that guy. Did you, when I did a quick, has he written books or journal articles?
Here, I'll send you a link.
Oh, fantastic. Come to Europe when it's safe, when you can. Come stay with us. We have another future of text. That can be your excuse, but you don't really need an excuse.
Oh. Yeah, I can't wait to get back to Europe. Okay, for some reason, hold on. Let's try again. I think this is the right site, but I'm getting a SSL error, but I think that's the right one.
Okay, I'll try it without the S.
No, no, the S works. It's just my browser's blocking it.
No, no, no. I also got the same error.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And now I did a little typo
You're
thing.
totally right. Yeah.
Oops, not found page. That's okay. Let's go to. Okay, but that's fine. I can.
Their website was working yesterday, so.
Yeah, I'm having just a horrible time dealing with WordPress issues. So yeah, I get that. Okay, let me go here. There you are. I'll just keep searching if you
anyway, yeah, that's him.
It's worth searching for. It's kind of bizarre when these kind of video meetings work and when they don't work. Like this is working. This is really nice.
As far as the connection?
No, our connection, as in two humans. Sometimes,
yeah.
Maybe it's because you're sitting forward and you have a clear background. There's sometimes you kind of feel people are half lit and they're not there. It's just like, are we in the same room? Would you sit like this in a coffee shop, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and we're so sensitive to those positional, postural cues in real life. Like if we were sitting at a coffee shop, to use your example, and I like just hunched down like 6 inches, it would feel weird, even just that small change. But for some reason in Zoom, people are, you know, up here or down here and like not even, you're like trying to have a normal conversation like this.
I had an idea for a function where if you click the pause video in video, this would happen. Okay, I'm cheating here. That's a picture of me at another location looking like I'm paying attention.
Oh, yeah.
But why not just freeze the last image?
So I wanted to do that, but not with the avatar, but with the virtual background.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it would fill the whole screen. I just would, and I tend to look very still when I sit. So I haven't done it yet though.
So many things that can happen with this. And also with Apple's LiDAR stuff, they should be able to map us really well and to fix the lighting live on this. So I think Apple's new silicon is going to be really interesting in a few months. They must have prioritized the heck out of this. Anyway, so he's not here. I'm going to tell you about Hamilton.
Okay.
So here are the reasons I think you will love it. So Lynn, he worked on this for 7 years. He did a poetry reading evening at the White House because he did In the Heights, a normal musical. I'm sure it's brilliant. I'm just not interested. Where he does the first song and it becomes the thing, the whole stage thing. So it is, part of it is the fact that it's a country created out of writing. I think that's really important because one of the things you and I talked about so much in the beginning was structures and frameworks. Here in Norway, I'm surrounded by fucking Vikings, right? But it's a gentle country. It's because we managed to build institutions. We don't have political judges. We don't have many police forces with different ideas. So when I'm in the south of America, I love it. You know, I just love being there, but I know that the structures are different and that's what's worrying, you know, see the MAGA hat and everything. Just hang on. Oh, it must be my mother outside. But the other point is, I got very rattled by that. That was very, very confusing. The human story. Anyway, just YouTube the original, the first song. Have a look. I think you'll find it quite moving. And I will stop talking about it because I literally could go on a whole day.
Well, I'll watch it and then I'll have more to say about it.
There is a line in there in the middle that's so underplayed. And so the American experiment begins. And that's before the first act is done. So it's not about revolution and fighting and stuff. Well, anyway, I'm sure we'll meet there. I think we have to give up on Duke, but that's okay. Well, okay and okay. Okay, because he was a bit late. But let's hope he can come next time. What I was talking to Bruce about was how to get visual meta connected to AI. Visual meta is my whole world, so I'm being very one-tracked. But at the same time, what it is trying to do is just make clear what things are. What are you doing about that in M? Because I remember you had an incredible fluidity of hierarchy where things can be seen based on things in many different ways. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
How you can kind of get different view structures based on such fluid knowledge. Kind of puts everything together.
Well, it's honestly part of the experiment with M, to be determined in a way, because I'm building a basic structure that says you have a parent-child relationship, and that basic asymmetry can be rendered fractally or recursively. And then you can attribute your own meaning to that asymmetry, right? So M doesn't provide any kind of explicit semantic relationships or allow the user to encode them explicitly. It's all informal and structural, or what I call diagrammatic. So rather than embedding the structural relationships within the language, as in prose, which structurally is linear, but semantically is dense and nonlinear. Instead, you're moving to a format which M supports of the shape of the text having meaning, right? The indented multiple times, a list, all of those structural elements begin to correspond with the gestalt, with the meaning of this. So
does that overlap with the experiences of spatial hypertext?
Yes. Yeah, I was really excited to realize that my idea about diagrammatic hypertext it's like an intermediary between spatial hypertext, which really is like unconstrained two-dimensional or three-dimensional space. And I'm working in constrained 2 dimensions, but it's still 2 dimensions, which means it's still spatial hypertext technically. So I'm excited about that part.
Yes, but I think you're doing something right, because I think spatial hypertext died based on its overly flexibility technical. There was no scaffolding at all. So you had to generate your own meaning. And that's great if you're doing some brainstorming and things like that. At the time, blah, 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 but it doesn't maintain that knowledge of what it is. So the fact that you are very hierarchical, I think it adds good structure.
Yeah. The hierarchy is like the skeleton. And then you can apply, you can define your own semantics for it informally. And so it's like you're developing your own convention. I mean, M is primarily a personal knowledge system. I haven't stepped into the intersubjective knowledge creation territory. So for now, it's a personal knowledge system, which means your personal relationship with the medium and with extending your mind into this medium means that you're going to develop patterns and you're going to develop idioms, so to speak, within the written structure, structural idioms that expand and augment the internal structures.
I would obviously love it if you could export from M into a PDF document using Visual Meta. Because not just because that's what I do these days, but also I remember Wendy Hall saying many years ago to me that what she wants is a way not to have to write prose, it takes too long, but just drag things in. So you have something in M to be able to get it in a format that's universal. And then hopefully something like Visual Meta can retain the connectedness of it, the richness of it, but it doesn't have to make it a hugely complicated display.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, sometimes you do want to share a document with other people in M, or do you think you want to share a graph type thing with other people? What do you think?
The diagrammatic text, because there's so much informal meaning in it, I think it's pretty contained within the individual and with a close circle of collaborators. And so there is a place for prose, obviously, and that is that we use language, we use language to scaffold out the narrative. And I think that informal structures can't do that because the meaning, the relationships are not encoded in the structure. So prose can do that. Also, formal ontologies can do that, but that's just a fucking dead end. Nobody's going to take the time to formally model their system. So I see it as a
I do know a few people are trying, but I completely agree with you.
That's my stance. The useful, so that's not useful. The useful spectrum is informal ideation at the individual and collaborative level. And then it's not a discrete shift, but then the being able to synthesize that into a narrative in a more linear structure that allows people with much less context to onboard into that semantic scheme. In other words, there will always be a need to tell stories, and stories have a linear structure.
Provide linear, contextual, whatever, or stories. Stories is better. Yeah, Bruce's stuff has been really interesting over the years. He did a rework of the Finder about 20 years ago. That was absolutely phenomenal. Steve Jobs said he only had 5 minutes to look at it and spent a full hour telling him why it was shit. Just very different ways of looking at it. So, yeah. Yeah, let me just think about that. What do you want to help people do with them? You want people to help them get stuff in and then enlarge their brain space to see relations and find stuff later, right? What is the child level language would describe it?
Well, it's funny to try to explain it like you're 5, because my real goal with M is not something developmentally a 5-year-old could do. So
Duke is here. Hi, Duke. We're just in the middle of me being very interrogative. Is that a word? Interrogating Rain on trying to dumb something down that isn't dumb. So it's kind of interesting. Duke, are you there?
Yeah. How are y'all?
Oh, you're there. Brilliant. Yeah, very good. Just wanted to have Rain just finish her thought there. Just 1 minute.
Awesome.
Sure. Yeah. Good to see you, Duke.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah. I was just going to say that, yeah, my goal with M, which not everybody will get, is that there's so many models out there, whether they're mental models or formal models. And my personal journey has been about actually, like, after learning a model and discarding a model, this is useful in this context, it's not useful in that context. I feel like I've developed some skill in simply like model handling, like model, there's a meta layer above any particular model. So what I'm ultimately building M for is for people to develop their model making skills. And I mean informal, I'm really not talking about formal models, but help people become more fluid and more dynamic in their ability to synthesize information into coherent mental models and narratives and be able to just as quickly deconstruct them and reconstruct them as needed. And it's a skill, it's skill development, and it just happens to manifest through different models that they're creating and externalizing through the structure of M.
Sounds a bit like the kind of the bridge between Piaget's model of assimilation and accommodation, where as a young baby, you basically take everything in as that's the way it is. And then later you have to decide whether it should fit or not. And to do that, you need to do exactly what you're talking about. You need to manipulate your model to see whether the new stuff is good or not. So
Yeah, and just at, you know, at doing the same thing, but at a more conscious level. Like we can actually not only inhabit models and think through models, but we can think about models. And in a way, that's the hallmark of rationality, is that meta reasoning. But to me, it does feel like there's a meta rationality that's emerging that's different than kind of the basic rationality is thinking about thinking in terms of abstracting. You know, you can abstract thoughts and then have generalizations, and you're able to reason about generalizations, not just about concrete structures, which is very Piagetian.
So with visual meta,
rationality is another layer of abstraction where you realize that those abstract models themselves can be reasoned about.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So with a friend last 2 weeks ago, I came up with a sentence: a visual meta is normal text that's magic. So with what you're doing, to have a seriously simple way of saying it, is space for modeling your ways of looking at things and for better understanding your modeling.
Yep.
That's cool. I'm sorry, it's just over time. I'm getting messages from Emily here. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was something else. Sorry. Yeah, so Duke, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. And you are sitting in a really cool place, or you have an amazingly good fake background.
Oh, it's kind of both. Actually, this is my mom's house. I'm graduating from the basement. I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, it's good to see you guys. Yeah, Rain, I think we met briefly at some point in Denver.
Oh really?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, cool.
Back in the Ethereum days of 2017.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of wild.
Yeah.
That is.
And, yeah. And I love what you're talking about models. I have a bunch of.
The real world is far more complicated than the models.
I got a ton of.
Programming isn't what matters. Modeling.
Who says that? Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Programming isn't what matters. It's modeling that matters.
To break away from the tyranny of fixed categories.
Hear that vent?
So we have a business model that has over the years grown to maximize for a few owners of capital and to cheat everybody else.
No kidding.
So
and because of that, when you wrote programs, you viewed your data as coming from some external source, which you abstracted.
This is my favorite one.
You do more with less. You viewed your data.
So that's ephemeralization. That is such a beautiful model. That's Buckminster Fuller. And that's just simply to do more with less, which is why I kind of hate crypto a little bit. But because it does less with more. But I love that it's breaking open the door to programmable money. But yeah, things are good here. Basically, the update is I entered into a Creative Startups Accelerator. It's good for the feedback loops because I've been missing them. I realized that with text, I'm working on vitamins, and the world is addicted to painkillers. And so it's hard to sell. So I'm stopping, and I'm focusing on selling. And I'm moving towards a series. Well, I guess it's just a model to accelerate crowdfunding for anything. So it's a nice generic model, and the only measurement is how fast can you do it and how many people can you reach. So the metrics are kind of simple, but that's what's happening. So hopefully we can start testing and learning and defining models by which we can accelerate vitamins, nourishment, options for text to adapt and evolve, as opposed to be stuck in a pain model, which sucks from personal experience. I have a stalled project, which I can post in here. I'd love feedback on. It veered into patent territory, which is offensive in the software models. But the idea was cooperative ownership. Anyway, that's kind of where that's my quick update.
Thank you. That was useful. I have to go now because my mother is here, so it's overtime. But I mean, obviously, all of us, we can chat anytime. I'm just kind of experimenting with this idea of open office hours. So Mondays and Fridays, same time, same channel.
Yeah, thanks for hosting, Frode.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Part of the reason for this is twofold. One, I tried to do some master classes. I hate that term. It's so pretentious.
So master classes?
Master classes.
Master class.
Yeah. But then also had a meeting with someone, Dave King. I think you both, yeah. And it was on his normal Zoom thing that he had his office. So as we were talking, people just came into the room because he forgot to have the thingy on. And it just felt so visceral and physical. I was in a room, I was like, oh, you're coming in, even though they were all just here. So that's nice. So anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend, both of you.
All right. Yeah,
awesome.
Thanks, Frode. Nice to see you, Duke.
Yeah, likewise.
And hope to see you both on Mondays or Fridays or any day in between. Bye for now.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, Frode, can you send an email so I can schedule this? I didn't catch, or I'll look at the tweet and figure out the schedule.
Oh, it started an hour ago.
Okay, awesome. Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah, cool.
Great.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Glad to be here. Bye.